guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle and Marae, and if you're new here, hi, hello. So today I'll just be basically doing like a commentary slash case study on this show, Married at First Sight. So I'll be focusing specifically on Paige and Chris's relationship and just give some of my thoughts and opinions in regards to the importance of self-love when navigating the dating space, and just some lessons and pointers that we all can take from her experience on the show. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm not here to bash the girl. Like, I think we all probably at some point in our lives and at various levels have been stuck on stupid for a subpar trash man. And I can go ahead and say that I've done that multiple times in my life. So really, when I was watching, especially the last episode, like, it makes me very emotional to watch it and just see how she keeps coming back to this man and accepting all the subpar treatment he's giving her, because I can see pieces of myself in her and in things that I've done in the past. So it actually got me to the point where I was getting emotional, almost tearing up and stuff. And my man's like, literally, I don't have any like sympathy for this girl. Like, why is she still here? But when you've walked those shoes and you've done those similar things and you know where you were in your journey of self-love, it really makes you be a lot more empathetic and not as much judgmental. So that's the lens that I'll be speaking from in this video. Now, for those of y'all who might not watch the show, Paige and Chris are basically a couple that were married at first sight. So they didn't really know each other before they got married, basically. And so Chris is a piece of work. This man came on this show. You can tell from the beginning he wasn't really attracted to Paige to begin with, wasn't super ecstatic about being with her, went ahead and had sex with her on the day they got married and met for the first time, had sex with her again that same morning and repeatedly, as Paige has said, all while knowing he wasn't really attracted to her, and even while expressing to her that he wasn't really attracted to her and wasn't really feeling her. Now time moves on and Chris drops the bombshell that he actually has a baby on the way. So he had been previously engaged, and it turns out that the woman he was previously engaged to is pregnant for him. And so here's why this is all messed up. He already knew, like, obviously coming on a show like this, it's an extensive process. So you already knew what your intentions were. You're looking for marriage and stuff like that. During this period, he was sleeping with his ex. So already off the bat, he wasn't coming on this show with good intentions and wasn't really giving himself to his future wife-to-be. Now, Paige is a really sweet girl. She's an accountant, young. I believe she's beautiful. She is a very godly woman. She says that, I'm really looking for a man of God because I'm a woman of God. That's really important to me, yada, yada, yada. And it really does seem like she came into this show in good faith, was really open to being committed to a relationship and really holding the situation down. So that's where we have kind of conflict, and that's where I'm going to start speaking from. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is in regards to the topic of sex. I think this is such a controversial and touchy subject because, given the society we're in and this whole sexual liberation movement and stuff, and with feminism and so many different mindsets and ideologies, our world has definitely evolved to a point where people really just do what they want, and I'm not really here to make a judgment on it. The only person I'm judging is myself and what I'm doing. But regardless of all of that, I think it's really important to understand and acknowledge the importance of sex and just how much it can really create a sense of intimacy with another person. Like, it's really not just like a casual activity like brushing your teeth. Like, it has real world ramifications. It definitely can have an effect on you, on how you perceive yourself and your experience in your relationship with other people. So I think it definitely was a red flag that Paige went ahead and had sex with this man on the first day they were married, given the fact that he had already expressed to her, I believe, that he wasn't so much attracted to her. And regardless, she continued to have sex with him, even with that understanding. And so it was really interesting when she was talking to the pastor in the previous episode, saying that, the reason why I had sex with him and I continued to have sex with him was because he was my husband, and I felt like, I had a duty to do that. And I'm pretty sure not many of us have been in a position where we've been married at first sight to somebody. But I think a lot of us can relate to the feeling of, giving yourself physically to a person, to a man, because you feel like that's going to keep you guys together, or you feel like, it's just something you're supposed to do out of obligation, maybe as a girlfriend or whatever the case may be. And I think it's just so important to have a strong sense of self-love, because when when you have an overwhelming sense of love for yourself and respect for yourself, you'd respect yourself enough not to give yourself physically to somebody who hasn't proven to really adore, love, and respect you. And I think the fact that she was already internally disgruntled and felt as if, something's amiss and, things aren't perfect, that was reason enough to listen to your gut and not sleep with this man. So I think it's really important for us to take a pointer on that, how important sex really can be. And the way that we allow ourselves to move sexually is a reflection of the kind of love that we have for ourselves. I'm not saying this in a judgmental way to say if you are a sex worker, you love yourself any less, but understanding that she's coming from a Christian perspective and a Christian background, she understands to her the value of sex. So giving sex to somebody who doesn't cherish you, somebody who doesn't value you, in a sense, definitely made her feel devalued. And with self-love, you will not allow yourself to be in that position and make those type of choices. Now, the next issue that I noticed, so when Chris told her about the whole baby issue and the baby coming and stuff, Paige kind of was like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I've been with a man previously who's had kids, I can do it. And, it made me so sad because it felt like she was settling. So because she had experienced this before, she was like, you know what, whatever, I can do this again, it's fine. And I think it's just so important for us as women to understand our value and our worth, because when you truly have a grasp on that, you will not allow yourself to settle for anything that's below what you know you deserve and below what you know you're destined to have. I don't care how bad of a person you are, but I don't think anybody on God's good earth deserves to be married to somebody who has shown absolutely no respect for you and could even be sleeping with his ex when he knew he was about to be married to you. And so for her casting it off as, whatever, I've done this before, I've been in this situation before, it really does reflect where her sense of self-worth and self-love is, and it's very saddening to watch. So basically what I'm saying is, like, don't normalize situations in your life that don't serve you. Like, I can say for myself, with the pattern of F-boys I was entertaining in my past, I became numb to it. Like, I was so indifferent. It was like, okay, same old, same old. Like, I kind of normalized dysfunction and normalized toxicity in my life. And so I think it's so important when you're on your journey of self-love to really take a step back and pinpoint those destructive behaviors that you've normalized in relationships, and really teach yourself to learn that you are deserving of much more than that. Now, the next thing I want to speak on is Chris's tendency to whisper sweet nothings and kind of keep her on an invisible leash. So it's so obvious that he understands and he perceives how desperate she is. And don't get me wrong, I completely am for women who want relationships and desire relationships. I've always been that woman that has wanted to be in a relationship, a strong, committed relationship. There is nothing wrong with having that kind of desire for yourself. But it becomes an issue when you allow that desire to overcome your sense of value and your sense of self-worth and self-respect. So when you prioritize it over respecting yourself, that becomes an issue, and that's when you become desperate. And that's what I was saying in my previous video about, predators and age gap dating and stuff. Predators can smell a desperate woman regardless of their age. You don't necessarily have to be a 60-year-old man preying on a 20-year-old woman. It can be your age mates. So that's why it's so important when you're navigating the dating space to be healthy, to be whole, and to have a high sense of self-worth and self-respect. Otherwise, you allow trash bags like this to really come and destroy your life and drag you through the mud. So I found it really disgusting when they had their meeting with the pastor and Chris whispers in her ear that the reason why he doesn't want to be with her is because he's scared of falling in love with her. And sis started cheesing and giggling he done tell her he's ready to marry and commit and just put all his ways to the side. It was just so disturbing to see how quickly he was able to reel her back in. And I've been that girl. I've done that so many different times, so I'm not going to sit here and say she's stupid, but it's so important for us as women especially especially, yes, we can be very emotional creatures, and we desire love and we desire to be appreciated, but make sure that you also have the ability to step aside and think from a logical perspective. Is this situation serving me? Does this man respect me? Does he honor me? Is he deserving of my time and effort? And allow that mentality to filter out people who don't need to be in your life. Now, the last thing I want to speak on is the harm of over spiritualizing dating. So our good sis said, this is the path that I decided to go on. And if God brought us together, I'm going to do my best to stick it out. He brought us together for a purpose and stuff like that. Yes, I believe in the power of God. I'm a Christian woman myself, but God also gave us the ability to think for ourselves, to have free will, and ultimately move in a manner we choose and we desire to move. And you know what the Holy Spirit gives us? He gives us the power of discernment. And so I think as a woman, to be in a situation like this where you're just chalking it up to God and I must be here for a certain reason, let me weather the season out, that's that struggle of stuff that I believe needs to be rejected and casted and bind, because it's actually so ridiculous that so many women stay in so many toxic and horrible abusive situations simply because they believe that they're meant to do this. The God I serve, I do not believe would want me to stay in a situation that is tearing me down and bringing me nothing but misery. And I'm not saying that at the sight of any turbulence in a relationship you run because God doesn't want you to go through troubles and stuff. But what I'm saying is that, it's important to be discernful and to realize the difference between a situation that is just completely toxic and something you don't need to be in versus a season that you're meant to go through and overcome. And tying this point back to the idea of self-love. With self-love and a high sense of self-respect, you would understand that the God that created you loves you so much that he wants the best for you, and he wants you to enjoy and love this life and love yourself and be in a happy and committed relationship. So I personally believe that Paige running back to spirituality to basically justify what she's going through is really just kind of using that as an excuse to continue to stay in the relationship and not do something about it and moving on. Now, that's everything I wanted to say in comments on this situation. I hope you guys learned a thing or two about the situation, and please leave comments down below about your thoughts on their whole love saga and, maybe some lessons that you might have learned from it as well. I really wish you all the best, and please remember that love for others starts from love for self. And without self-love, it's really impossible to love anybody else. So that's basically all I wanted to come on here and say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
You a bad girl and your friends bad too. Oh, you got the swag, saucy drippin' swag, do. You a bad girl and your friends bad too.